Hey everyone, good morning. Hopefully you can see me. I'm working on a intro screen for my live stream. What'd you think of the coffee? I don't know. Just a thought. Somebody suggested I might try that. But thanks for everyone that's here. This is my usual Sunday live stream, and just time to sit down and talk about what's new this week, and some things I've been up to, and you guys can share with me what you guys been doing, and it's just a chance for us to kind of catch up, and then I can answer any questions you have about Olympus cameras or settings or photography in general. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me work on this. Still a bit awkward for me. Hold on. This is like my 30-something live stream, and I still struggle a bit. What's happening with this? Oh, here it is. All right. So, okay. Oh, almost. God dang it. All these little pop-up windows and switches I gotta mess with. It's a whole new experience, really, live streaming and a whole kind of different workflow. Okay. Let's see who's here. Hey, Andreas, Kent, Patrick, Larry, how are you? Yeah, I need to get back to you on the camera. I'm gonna take it out today. This is the first really nice day. Well, yesterday was pretty nice, but I didn't get a chance to go out. But today is a nice day to go out. I'm gonna go out to Savage Mill up in Columbia, I think, Maryland. They got some bridge there. It's like the last kind of bridge, whatever it is, that in the US. So I thought it might be kind of a neat place to get a picture. And then there's a mall right there too, like a really old mall that was built into the mill. It used to be a mill. I think it's a small shopping center now, but they kept everything authentic as far as I know. So it might be some good opportunities there. So I'm going to do a little photo walk today, something I haven't done in a few weeks, or it feels like all winter I haven't gone for a photo walk. But I'm going to do that today and see what there is to see out there. Oh, Manuel, Serge, hey, Gerner, how are you? Thanks again for your donation. I really appreciate that. It's very generous of you. Brent, how are you? Oh, publicly thank you for the M5 Mark III videos. Okay, great. I'm gonna keep working on those, and I've been working on the play menu because it's the one menu that I don't think anybody really uses anymore. It's kind of like a legacy menu. Let me show you what I mean. But it has, edit, print, reset, protect, reset, share order, device connection. And this has to do with like printing your photos from your memory card directly to your printer. And then also connecting with your smartphone and editing the photos and cameras. So I guess the only thing legacy here really is the printing part, right? Who really takes their memory card out? I'm curious, does anybody take their memory card out, put it in their printer, and just print directly? That I just don't see people doing that, but there's some really old standards. There's a couple of different standards, and there's different ways to connect to your camera through the USB. There's the old MTP format, and then there's the file system format. It's really interesting to kind of dive into those old things that I just don't think anybody does anymore. Hey Rick, how are you? Photocy, good to see you. Hello, Destiny. Hi, how are you? Thanks. Yeah, I really like that that live stream I did. I had to break it into two parts because the live stream got lost somewhere on YouTube, right in the middle. But you know, these really long live streams, I need to go back and edit them and republish them into like a short 20 or 30-minute video with just the kind of some of the better good questions that were in there. I just honestly, I just been getting kind of lazy. I used to do that, like re-edit the live streams to a very short, condensed 20-30 minute video that just kind of touched on the highlights, right? So I used to call them what live stream highlights video. Because you know there's a lot of space in there that you may not be interested in. You just kind of want to hit the most important parts, and then of course the full live stream's always available, right? And yeah, two guests worked out really well. I didn't really have any bandwidth issues, and I wasn't exhausted after it either. You know, when I had like those 4 or 5 people at one time, I just passed out after the live stream. I went to sleep, man, for a couple hours. And but this one, you know, when I was done, I felt really good. I was like, wow, that felt good. And but I've been getting different feedback. The you know, some were saying that they prefer more interaction with the guests, right? Like, and plus, you know, this last live stream they were primarily Panasonic shooters, and I'm trying to kind of expand my skill set to Panasonic, expand my audience to Panasonic shooters, because there's a lot of people out there, you know, you shoot both, right? Or you shoot a lot of different cameras. So every camera kind of offers its own experience, I think. And like this morning, I was looking at a Leica M9. God knows why. And but it uses an old CCD sensor designed by Kodak. The last sensor Kodak ever made. It's sad. They went out of business. I think technically they're still making film, but I don't know if it's the same true Kodak company or if it's been bought out and somebody else is making the film. But yeah, the M9 used an old CCD sensor, just like my Pentax K10, and I was really impressed with the images I got out of that recently. So if you see my Instagram, you'll see some pictures from the Pentax when it was Pentax week, whatever that is. But that uses CCD sensor. My old Nikon D80 and D40, they use CCD sensors. And apparently there's some advantages to it. It doesn't have the high ISO capabilities, of course. And they're more expensive to make as well, the CCDs. So people feel like that the CMOS sensors that we use now have sort of peaked, but they're cheaper to make and they're more synthetic. They're not as organic as the old CCD sensors, which is kind of an interesting. I'll have to test that for myself. But my initial impressions are it is different. It does have kind of a different look. So what I might do is take my old Nikon D80 and compare that to my D750, and you know, obviously there's 10-year gap there in sensor tech, but and processing, but you know, it might be kind of interesting to kind of compare those two, just for fun, and I'll share that with you guys. I'll make a video on it. But just things, you know, I like to do and share with you guys, and that was kind of the original intent of this channel, was just for me to go out and just share with you my journey through photography. Because I'm relatively new to photography and professional photography, and I fell in love with Olympus, and when I really dove into the menus, I was able to kind of wrap my mind around it, and I could see how it could be very, very difficult because everybody complained about the menus on the Olympus cameras. So that's kind of how I actually started the channel. It wasn't the original intent of my channel, but that's kind of how I started, was just showing how to set up the camera, go through the menus, etc. And I got great feedback on that. But if you ever watched, go back and watch my episode 100, that really talks about the intent of my channel, what I originally set up the channel for. And it, you know, long story short, primarily just sharing my photo journey with my dog. But yeah, if you haven't seen that video, check it out. And you know, there's some, I don't know, that episode just was a little more personal, I think. But anyway, yeah, people use card readers, right? I'm going back to the original question I asked. Yeah, you just use a card reader, put it in your laptop or computer. Hey, Sandeep, how are you? Barry, Derek, how are you? Derek has a question. Hi, Rob, can I set the ISO to a certain max? Can you do the same with shutter speed when you're in aperture mode? Not really. Yeah, if you're in aperture priority, the shutter speed's going to do what it's going to do. The only workaround, and it's very limiting, is possibly, I'd have to try it, but you could possibly maybe set the flash maximum sync speed to 250 and the lower sync speed. But I don't think that would really work. You'd have to have the flash on the camera. You could set it to low power so it doesn't affect the exposure, but that would effectively limit the shutter speed to 1/250th of a second. You know, on the fast end. On the slow end, it would be like 1/60th or 1/30th or whatever you set it to. So maybe that'll work for whatever you're trying to do. If it's a limited case scenario, you know, if you want to shoot like that all the time, then obviously that may not be a viable solution. But for a limited case use, I think you can limit your shutter range within that while you're in aperture priority. As Plato says, had it not been for you, I think I would have sold my EM5 too. Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's what Emily was saying from Micro Four Nerds. She loved the Pen F, but she could not deal with the menus, so she dumped it, you know, and got a GH5. Ah, Calamarines, how are you? Data says, as to your live stream with the two others you had, I think the chat for the watchers to talk amongst themselves. I would post a question for video and people could put their questions to that. I would post a questions for video. I'm a little bit lost. I guess you want me to get the questions before the stream starts, and then I could go through those. And I did try to get questions before on another live stream, like before I did the one with Robin and Peter. And I only got a couple of questions on my website. But if you go to my website, there's a link there that says live stream in the top right menu. And like next weekend, Sunday, I have a live stream with Peter and Robin talking about the EM1 Mark III. And you can post questions there. And then also on the community tab in YouTube, you know, people are posting questions there as well. So I'm going to post a community tab, or make a post in the community tab, promoting the live stream for next week. And then you can ask questions there as well. And that might be a better way to do it. That way everybody can see everybody else's questions, right? And not ask the same thing over and over again. So I'll give some thought to that. That may be the best way. That way everybody can see everybody's questions. And if there's one there that, you know, it might spark other questions, right? You're like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that, but what about this, you know? So that might be a good way. I don't know. What do you guys think of doing it that way? I just but I didn't get too many questions the last time I tried that, but we can try again. It's fine. I would prefer the audience, you know, you guys ask the questions. You know, I had a few for myself that I wanted to drive, make it more of an interview process in the beginning, but I didn't expect it to go on for like 25 minutes because I watched it again, and it was a solid 25 minutes of me just, you know, jibber jabber with the guests, and that. And all while that's fine, I think that's better suited for separate video, right? That you can watch anytime, not during a live stream necessarily. But you know, it's a learning process for me, right? So I'll try and do what I think, or what, you know, we can come up with, whatever we think is best for you to get the most out of the streams, and you know, just make it more productive in general. Plato, Robin and Peter coming in later. Not today, next week. Next week, Sunday. I mean, they may drop in today just in the chat section, but I'm not set up to live stream with them today. Adadiracy says, Rob, in manual mode, can you see the hold on, it jumped on me. Can you see the preview of the picture live on the back of the screen? Seems like I can't see if it's over or underexposed. You have to go into the live. Which camera do you have, Odyssey? I think it doesn't matter which camera. All the Olympuses have this feature. It's just, it may be in a different spot, but I'll show you which menu it is. It has to do with the live view mode. So in settings, go into your display menu. Oh, let me get out of movie mode. Okay. And it's this one. It's Live View Boost, and I have a video on Live View Boost. Man, the green screen is always messing with this. Let me see if I can do something real quick. I don't know if that shows any better. Not really. Let me just turn off the green screen so you can see it. Nope. There we go. Maybe I'll just do my live streams with green, right? But now I got like really bad colors. I got like this blue and this khaki green and then this mint green behind me. Anyway, you go in the display menu, and on this camera it's on D2, but it's in the display menu on all of the Olympus cameras. You want to go into Live View Boost, and once you go into Live View Boost, you'll see manual shooting is off. So you just need to turn that on to on 1 or on 2, and then that will show you the live view with the predicted exposure showing in the camera or on the back of the screen and in your EVF, because but watch my video on Live View Boost and it'll tell you the difference between on 1 and on 2. And Olympus, for some reason, hopefully the M1 Mark III fixes this. Well, that might be a good question for them. It's not as good at it displaying the actual exposure you're going to get when you take the picture. In good light, it's fine. You know, you can get +3, -3 kind of EV range that it shows you the exposure, the actual exposure you're going to get. But when the light starts to drop, you know, at any of the extremes. Like if you're indoors at night with just artificial lighting, like the lamp on your table or something, it's not very good at really showing the actual exposure. You might have like only a 1 EV range. Like it'll get a little brighter, a little darker on the back of the screen, but then when you take the picture, it's a lot different, right? And I'm not sure why Olympus didn't, you know, program some correction for that, because it has to be done artificially. You know, the camera only exposes at one setting, and then it's pretty much when it's in live view, right? Because the sensor's open and exposed, so you have no shutter. So it exposes at one setting, whatever the sync speed is of the sensor. So it might be 1/30th of a second or 1/60th of a second. And your ISO is also kind of fixed. You don't have a lot of control over the exposure of the sensor when you're looking at the back of the screen. And I compared it with my Fuji film, and Fujifilm did fine in low light. It would show me the correct exposure when I was in low light. But all of my Olympus cameras are, you know, really not good at that. Kostov, how are you? It says, Rob, have you ever tried the 12-100 with the M1 Mark II? I have no option to try the combo because none of my local stores have that lens. I have only tried it when I went to these live events. I don't own that lens. And yeah, it's a heavy lens. But it's fine on the M1 Mark II with the grip. You don't have to buy the extra grip, you know, so you can do verticals and things. But I felt it was pretty comfortable. It didn't feel, you know, unbalanced or anything. But, you know, think if you really want that lens. I mean, it's a great lens. It's very sharp. Has the image stabilization so you can do the dual IS. But maybe the 12-45 f4 might be a better option, right? Do you really need to go out to 100? You know, I don't know. I mean, for me, I'm struggling with that decision myself. You know, just the sheer weight of that lens kind of rules it out altogether for me, anyway. Put a quick video up as I missed the other two options. Okay. Oh, okay. So you're saying, Datus is saying I should make a short video asking people to leave questions. That's an interesting idea. Because you may not see the community tab. You may not go to my forum, you know, because nobody cares about that. Although I got about 100 people on there, which is kind of nice. But that's a good idea. That's a really great idea, actually. And then I can just take the video down after the live stream airs, right? And then it won't matter. I like that. That's why I love you guys. You guys always have great ideas. Question to all: what is the best site for showing your pictures without involving Mark? Okay, for Facebook. I think, you know, Flickr's an option. 500px. I like Flickr because you can put the full res image up. It's a JPEG, but you can put a full res JPEG. I use Flickr. You know, I pay the annual fee, but I don't use it much personally. I just post on Instagram, but that's not in your one of your options there. So I'd say give Flickr a try. It's free. You can put up to 1,000 images for free. And then more than that, you have to pay. And then 500px. But I haven't been to that site in a long time. I see. Data's like the chat part. And that's what I mean. I'm kind of getting feedback both ways on the last live stream. Some people like that first, you know, 25 minutes that I talked to them, and some people didn't like that because it wasn't interacting with the audience. So I have to strike a balance, you know, maybe break up, maybe talk 10 or 15 minutes with them, take some questions, and then from the questions, another topic will come up that I can talk to them more in depth. It's, yeah, but it's more manageable now that I only have 2 guests at a time, right? Serge is saying, is there any photo books that you read or influenced? No. I haven't read any photo books or portfolios or have any particular photographers that I follow for inspiration. You know, what inspires me really is, you know, if I want to, well, I think inspiration is the wrong word, but I watch, you know, when I watch a movie, I really appreciate the cinematography, and I mentioned this in the last live stream. I think a movie like The Secret Life of Walter Mitty was amazing cinematography, but also as a photographer, you can really see what they're doing. Because in cinematography, they have to do a lot of different kinds of lighting or be very conscious of the lighting. And they do a lot of tricks too, right? Like it could be bright daylight, but they'll film it and it looks like it's at night. So how do they do that? They don't have any more settings than we do as photographers. They have fewer, as a matter of fact, options than photographers do. So I get a lot of ideas from there. So that's really where I get some ideas for the kind of photography I want to do. But I don't know, inspiration wise, you know, really life itself is an inspiration for me. When I go out and I see a tree, you know, that's been there for 50, 100 years, or sometimes I'll go to a park and I'll see a 400-year-old tree. And then I try to think about, you know, how can I tell this tree's story, you know, relative, you know, in one picture. Or when I go photo walks, you know, I try to think of how can I tell a story in that picture. What is it about? Like I took a picture of a barber shop, and I really liked that one because it was closed and at night and all, you know, but they left the lights on inside. So I backed off and I got a picture of the barber shop inside, but I kind of focused on the lettering on the outside that shows the hours that it's open and they close and the days that they open, and then in the background, you know, I made sure there was enough depth of field that you could see other things inside, signs that were inside telling them about, you know, you get a free this with that, or you know what I mean. So yeah, just every time I go out, I always look for the story, and just real life just inspires me more than seeing other photographers. Now I have been watching on YouTube, there's just search for like, you know, 50 historic vintage photos or whatever. Like I watched a couple this morning, and I wasn't watching them so much for inspiration. I mean, I enjoy seeing really vintage photos, but I was looking at them more for like, these guys used to shoot with film. And I would try to figure out, you know, did they use a 4x5 camera? Probably, you know, because 35 millimeter wasn't really a big deal until after the 50s, I think. So they were using large format film. So I was just looking at the technical aspects of it, you know, the depth of field that you get from very large format type cameras, and then just the overall image quality. You know, so I was more looking at it for the technical aspects. Than the inspiration. But anyhow, that's a long answer to your question. Oh, good night, Rod. I'm sorry. We'll catch you in the replay. Oh, Adadressy said, I meant aperture mode or other. Can I see the manual exposure in manual if I want to overexpose? I can't see it on the screen, just in the picture after it's taken. If I want to overexpose. Yeah, that's, I think what you're asking me is like, if you adjust the exposure, does it reflect on the screen, right? And it should. In good light, you should have no problem seeing that, long as your live view is turned off. Or having a brain fart. I think that's what you mean, though. By default, aperture priority should be showing you the correct exposure. Let me maybe reword that one more time for me to make sure I'm understanding you. I saw Robin show some subtle changes for the EM53, and that is being able to go to live comp in live mode and bulb mode. Yes. What would you do in outside busy street shooting? I'm sorry, would you do an outside busy street shoot? Okay. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to use an ND filter for the live comp, right? The live bulb or bulb mode, you wouldn't use an ND filter because you can just watch the exposure. But I think still a good ND filter will help you get better shots if you want to capture some motion. And then in combination with the live view or live bulb, you know, the various bulb modes. On the EM1 Mark II, since update 3.2, I appreciate the improvement set of the EVF auto switch. For my own use, position 1 is on is perfect. Okay. I don't use my EM1 Mark II much for photography, so, but I could do the same thing on the EM5 Mark III. I'll have to give that a try. Because that EVF auto switch is a pain sometimes, and I usually turn it off. Oh, hey Barry, you're suggesting Instagram, but that's part of Facebook, so I think he was trying to avoid that. Plato's thinking Flickr might shut down. That's true. It may. I hope not. I think it's a good platform. I just don't understand why it hasn't, you know, really evolved or caught on with photographers. Because they have a lot of great images on there to look at, and it's searchable. So I really appreciate it for its metadata aspects, you know. Derek says, hi Rob, my girlfriend just got her first camera today. Can you please say hello? Hi Joanne, how are you? Thanks for joining, if you're here. John Softly, how are you, buddy? John is, I think John's got more camera and gear than I do. he emails me time to time, and we you know, we correspond that way. But will you be buying the new EM1 Mark III? I'm about 90% sure I will be buying it. I really want to do handheld high-res shot. Because I've been playing with it on the tripod lately. I never used it before because you always need a tripod. But the few times I've used it, I really liked it. And I think if I had that option handheld, I would use it a lot more. You know, besides getting a little more detail, because I do a lot of night photography on my photo walks, you get a lot less noise when you use the high-res shot mode because it's combining 8 images. So I like the idea of getting reduced noise as well in my shots. Never mind the extra detail. It's primarily, I like the idea of being able to shoot with less noise. And if there's any blurriness or moving things in my street photos, I don't care about that. And most of the time, I don't care about that. I'm not going for motion in my shots, and if it's there, it's okay. And I also like the idea of the starry AF a tiny bit, and that combined with the being able to charge the camera or use the camera while it's, you know, through the USB-C. You can use the camera from an external power source. Because how many times has the battery died on me while I'm live streaming, right? Oh, hey, Adian, right? I had asked you how to phonetically pronounce your name. Thank you for that. Let me know if I got it right. Adian. How are you? Serge is asking, is single AF better than zone focusing for street photography on Olympus EM10 Mark II? I prefer single AF. It's rare that I think zone focusing makes sense if you're trying to capture quickly people. You know, then they'll be in focus more or less. I tried a little zone focusing, but then you're standing like in a spot waiting for somebody to walk into that, you know, into that zone. But the camera focuses fast enough in daylight. At night, yeah, probably zone focusing makes more sense in low light when autofocusing might be struggling. But I wouldn't say one is better than the other. It's just a matter of how do you want to capture the moment. And then if the light is low, the autofocus is not working that great anyway. So it makes more sense to use zone. Adian's asking, is an EPL8, is there a way to select frames per second? No. I assume you mean in video. Wait. If you mean like high and low, yeah. It's the same as any other Olympus, really. But oh, where are all my batteries? They're in my bag. Okay. Yeah, it's in menu C under release. So you just go in the custom menu. Menu C. And then in there, you can change the frames per second for low and high. And your options are 1, 2, 3, 5. I think with this camera, you can stick at the maximums because they're not that fast. I think any of their lenses will keep up with 3 frames per second in continuous autofocus. I like to look at the camera effects in the TV programs, bokeh, focus pulls, yeah. Yeah, you see a lot of the hex patterns, in movies, right? You see the aperture blades in the background from the bokeh. And the other thing I noticed really, and this is more video related, but if you watch that show on Amazon, it's called The Boys, but you see rolling shutter effects in there because they're always, you know, it's kind of an action show, right? So they're always panning the camera, and I see rolling shutter, and I'm like, man, you know, it's like a problem even in these, you know, decent budgeted movies. I don't know what camera they used to film that show, but I was surprised to see rolling shutter. Probably using a Sony. Plato's asking, live view boost should be off. Yeah, to see the proper exposure, you would turn it off. if you want to see the proper exposure in live view. Hey Walter, how are you? Yes, it should reflect, but like I said, Olympus in low light is not very good at reflecting the correct exposure. Olympus just didn't program in, the adjustments. And, Walter, I had dinner with him and his wife yesterday. He's a really good friend of mine that I've known for many years, and he's started a channel on Capture One image editing software. So we're working together to do a video on Capture One and image processing. So look for that next month, I hope, sometime mid-March maybe. But in the meantime, check out his channel. If you have Capture One now, he has some great tutorials on working with Capture One. It's not a software I use, for the reasons that I've mentioned before, not being able to layer images on top of different images. But maybe that's changed, I haven't kept up with it, and I just can't support 2 subscription models or pay for one and do it. I just need one. It works well enough for me. Sorry, Rob, I meant the live mode where you see the changes, not the one that needs an ND filter. Yes, that's true. It is cool. The live comp is a great feature. Something I need to do more of. There is a way to show your highlights and shadows while you're taking photos. Peter Forsgard has a video how to get it right. Okay, yeah, check that out. I haven't seen that one. I mean, I have a video on highlights and shadows, but I don't know if that... It might be a little bit too long for just something simple like that. Adian. Okay, thanks, Adian. I'm trying to remember. You told me phonetically. A like in Maine. T like in T, and then N like in 10. So ATN, I think. Chuck, how are you? You're so lucky to be in Florida. I would be doing photo walks every day if I lived in Florida. Oh, in video, yeah, I'm sorry, Adian. God, I'm like a little behind here, but Adian, yeah, there's no way to change. Let me just double check. Because I used to vlog with this camera all the time, but I just usually vlogged in program mode. Yeah, no, there's no way to do it. I'm just double checking because it's been a while since I've used this camera, since I got the M5 Mark III. Yeah, I don't see any way to change. I think you're stuck at 30 frames per second. And this camera here, this is an awesome little camera for vlogging. If you don't want to get the M5 Mark III, but this is the camera that the M5 Mark III replaced for me. The M5 Mark III didn't replace like the M10 or any other camera I have. It was to replace this one, primarily for vlogging, because this takes awesome pictures, and you can attach a mic jack to it, and this is really a great camera, and it's going for cheap now. But it's very limited in video with the settings and things. But if you're just doing simple vlogs, just put it in program mode and go. So Fotis is saying that We should wait a couple months on the M1 III at launch. The X-T4 with IBIS, bigger sensor, bigger battery for the same, might force Olympus to lower their price. That may be true, but you know, when there's a camera that I want to buy, when it's not a bad case of gas, I you know, like the M5 Mark III, I paid full pop, right? Now it's $200 lower. I mean, it's on sale, but usually over time you find that it's on sale more often than not. And the M1 Mark III no doubtably will go on sale, and then eventually that'll be the price that you can get all day long. But I try to I think I'll get my money's worth even at full price, and you know, for the features I'm looking for, the high-res shot mode and the low light improvement that I would get with that. I mean, if it goes, you know, you know, but Olympus holds their value really well overall. You know, it's not like the Fuji X-H1, which just crashed. It's like a third of the price it was when it came out now. And that camera's only been out not even 2 years, I think. And I went online the other day on eBay to look at some used Pen Fs, and they're still going for $700-800 used. You know, so that's and all of the cameras from Olympus, their values hold pretty well. Rick's asking if I think we're in danger of becoming over-reliant upon technology to help us take better photographs. Well, yeah, I mean, that's really why the smartphones are, I think, doing so well, because they're fully automated and the entire workflow is very, very easy, right? You take a picture and you can share it immediately. And the process now is with cameras is you have to put them into your computer, and I think a lot of people prefer editing their photos before posting them. So there's that whole post-processing part of it, and they don't try as hard to get it right in camera to begin with. I think that's where the biggest I think using technology to help you get the image you want is fine, but as long as you're doing it all in camera, I'm really fine with that, because you're still using your brain and thinking about how to take the picture, the composition, etc. But you know, for example, like I was talking about high-res shot mode to get a little more detail, but mainly for the low noise capability handheld. You know, I understand that the long way to do it is put it on a tripod and use a lower ISO. But I mean, that's a very simple example. But I think what's lost really in today's, a lot of photographers today are they put too much emphasis on going into post-processing and fixing the image and getting whatever magic they want out of it at that point, versus trying to get it correct in camera. And I use every technical capability of the camera I can to get that image correct in camera that minimizes the post-processing. I would say 80% of my pictures I just crop and tilt. I never have to really post-process. And I only post-process if I made a mistake or I've gone beyond the capability of the camera to capture the image that I want. So I have to take the image that it can get and then take it further in post-processing. But that's very rare. But that's kind of my thoughts on that. I don't think it's a reliance on technology. I think it's just a matter of people not using the technology enough, in my opinion. Because ultimately, you know, I get it. All you need is ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. Then you focus on composition, storytelling, things like that. But I think that's where the That's where really the meat of photography is, in the composition and storytelling, and then getting the exposure that you want. And if I can use technology to help me get that exposure, all the better. You know, like live comp is a technology, right? But if it helps me tell a story, I'll use live comp, you know, with the light painting and etc. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Does that make any sense? Hans Lubert, congrats on your EM10 Mark III. John Matthews, how are you? He says he wishes Olympus would offer a way to dial back some of the artifacts, like transparent layer of sorts. Some of those effects seem way over the top. Yeah, that's a good idea. Like dial back the intensity. I think you can do it on... Oh, no, you can't. The only one, you can do it on one of the picture modes. It's called Eye Enhance. You can increase or lower the effect of Eye Enhance, like small, medium, or low, medium, high, or something. And that's the only one. If they could do that on all their filters, that would be great. And what I do sometimes is I will, because you still have some control. What I do sometimes with the art filter, let me put this in photo mode. I'm in movie mode. Hold on. Yeah, I mean, really all you can do is maybe tweak the white balance and things, but yeah, I get that. Being able to dial the art filter effect a little would just give you a little more control, right? I agree. Sometimes it's too strong. Oh, hi Hans. You want some tips on using old Olympus lenses from the OM series? I have a video on adapting lenses. I don't think I used an OM lens in that series, but the OM lenses are kind of my favorite lenses to adapt because they're very compact, right? Relatively speaking. And you want to use focus peaking and or magnification to help you do that focusing. So you would shoot an aperture priority because you have a physical aperture ring on those lenses, and then use either focus peaking and or focus magnification. So I would assign a button to magnify the image that I can toggle on and off, and to help me get focus. But those are really the only tips. Other than that, it's really no different than using any lens in manual focus. Capture One isn't a pixel editor, so you can't combine images. It is true it also doesn't do HDR, merge, or pano stitch. I use Affinity Photo for that. Okay, I didn't know that. I would assumed it would have had HDR and pano stitching. Because pano stitchings I want to get into more too. I'm going to do a tutorial on that. Not that it needs a lot to talk about, right? You push a button. You know, you tell it what images you want to stitch together, and the software does all the work. But there's some, you have to give some thought to composing the shot for a pano, which I want to get into. And one of the best people to watch, he doesn't do stitching or anything like that, but he takes a lot of pano shots. Like he'll do it like a 19:6 or 20:7. Like he'll do really wide shots on film. But his thought process of taking the picture, he walks you through his thought process, which is, I think, really good. Nick Carver, yeah, he's awesome. I would watch his channel if you're thinking about doing panos and stuff. Hi Rob, I'm new to the M43 and have been trying to research which older used Olympus camera body suits me best. I'm particularly interested in features such as focus peaking and high res mode. EM5 Mark II, your best bet. Terrific camera. I just got one myself, actually. But you can get these for about $400 body only all day long on eBay or a refurb site. You know, check whatever access you have. But this is a solid camera, I think, that will do everything you want. The only place it's really lacking is in video mode, right, for continuous autofocus tracking and things like that. But for photography, this camera is as good as anything Olympus makes now. This is as good as the M1 Mark III in terms of image quality and just being able to do photography. So the high-res shot, it also has high-res shot mode, but you'll have to put it on a tripod, but you know, that's okay, right? So I think that's your best bet. And if anyone has any other ideas or agrees with that, you know, let Kevin know that you agree with that as well, because I think that's one of Olympus's classic cameras. Han says, like, how autofocus works on manual lenses. Autofocus does not work in manual lenses at all. So you would have to, I think you posted this question in my forum. I saw it this morning. I didn't respond to you yet, but I did see it this morning. This same question. And yeah, there's no way to autofocus with the older lenses that are manual focus. Brent, back at work after a week and a half vacation. Hi Elaine, how are you? Haven't updated your firmware yet. I know, you bought the cable, right? Last week or 2 weeks ago? What are you waiting for? Just the only tip I can give you is make sure you put a fresh battery in your camera when you're doing the firmware update. Because I made the mistake of not changing the battery. And you know, I had one of those Chinese batteries in there, and they die on you without notice, you know. So I was doing a firmware update, and the battery died like in the middle of part of the process. Fortunately, it wasn't during the process of writing the firmware to the update. It was still downloading from the website. So thank God I didn't brick my camera. But yeah, just be very conscious. Make sure you have a fully charged battery in your camera. Oh my God, I'm falling way behind here. Hi Rob, we meet again. Hi Kurt, how are you? What lens do you recommend? An all-around lens. I own the 7-14 and the 17 and the 45. What do I think is missing? Well, it seems like you like fast glass. So you're not really missing anything. You know, you could get the 25 f1.8. But I might. That's really it. Unless you want to go longer. Then the 40-150 Pro. Yeah, I think that would be your next best lens. The 40-150 Pro f2.8. Because it seems like you like fast glass. And that'll take you from your 45mm prime all the way up to 150mm. And that'll expand your photography more than the 25mm f1.8. Adian says the only vlogging problem with the EPL8 is the screen is behind the tripod. Yeah, I use a bracket though that offsets the camera. If you go back to some of my older videos, you'll see me using that bracket, and that works fine. Where's that bracket anyway? Yeah, it's this one. So I just mount this. This is a little like $6 flash bracket, and I would mount the camera here, and And then over here, I had a 1/4 screw on this side. I actually mounted the camera this way. So there's actually a 1/4 screw right here that I can thread the Arca Swiss plate onto. So the camera would mount this way, and oops, dang it! Told you I drop stuff all the time. But yeah, I would just screw this on this way. Hopefully I don't strip the threads. I'm such an idiot. There we go. And then just adjust this. There. But that's how I used to vlog, like this. Just like that. And you can get this on Amazon for like $6 or $7. That's how I used to vlog with this all the time until I got the M5 Mark III. Elaine says, what camera is that and how deep? Did I see that it is a pen? Yeah, this is a pen PL8. I think, Elaine, if you're asking me what this is. And I like this because it tilts down, it tilts up. This is really still a great camera to vlog with and take pictures. And you can get it cheap. I bought the Mark E0. I can't tell what that is, Hans. Oh, Mark III. I'm sorry, Mark II. Some typo there. Good morning, Lauren. How are you? I got your email. I read it this morning. It's really long, but good. I think analysis in there. A PL8 white with lenses, $280. Wow, that's so cheap, and it's a great camera. All right, what's happening on the Fuji 690 front? Yeah, I'm gonna go out today with it. I hope to Savage Mill. I know if you're still here, Walt, I'm going out there today. I think. I really like some of the houses I saw out there too. That one with the school bus in front of it, and then another part of that road there was a tree line, but behind the tree line there was like this trailer just sitting there. And I thought that would make an interesting shot. And then I'm going to try Savage Mill. So I'm going to do, I'm going to take it out today. Patrick says, I enjoy getting the JPEG straight out of camera on the Pen F. But in the old days, I had a darkroom, so I always enjoy post-processing the raw images as well. Yeah. Yeah, when I started out, I used to love processing the photos and playing with the colors and pulling out, you know, because if you look at, you guys haven't seen my old Instagram account, but that had all of my Nikon images on it. And I used to really saturate the colors and contrast, and I did all kinds. I was really into landscape photography back then. And I did have a lot of fun doing that, but since getting the Olympus, I get a lot of pleasure out of getting the image in camera, as much as I did in post-processing. So it's a challenge either way, right? It just doesn't really matter how you get there in the end. I just like doing it in camera. Yeah, Tony says, I see so many overcolor. Yeah, if you see my old Instagram account, I should I better check. Yeah, I think it's still up. I know it's still up. My old Instagram. I'm hesitant to share it with you guys though. But if you guys want to know what it is, let me know. But it's got some really old pictures of me in there. Back in my Man About Town days. Archie, how are you? Good to have you back. The mental process, man, I'm really behind here. The mental process of seeing the foreground and background relationship but balance with simultaneously looking at something interesting takes practice and time. Yes. Agreed. Shooting street photography is fun at a time. A good challenge. Out of the wild, a few times does a bus or truck cross the path of your lens in the middle. Yep, sometimes. Oh, awesome. Awesome, Peter. You got a Flickr account now. You'll learn more and improve your images by getting out there and taking thousands of pictures rather than expending your efforts on learning how to use all those gizmos. Yes. Yeah, I put a lot of energy up front into learning the gizmos of our cameras. And now I'm working on my photography. It's better to work on your photography first though and get good images. But for me, it just depends, right? If you're kind of a tech nerd like I am, the gizmos and bells and whistles inspire me as much as going out and getting a good picture. I guess I don't know. I didn't say that right, but now when I go out and take pictures, I do look for that story or sort of impact the image will give. Misplaced the cord. Yes, that's why you got to label them, Elaine. As soon as you get the cord, because all the cords look alike, so just put a little piece of paper on there and tape and label them. This is for your camera, or this one is a USB 3.0 cable, because not all USB-C cables are 3.0. Some are 3.1, some are charging cables only, some are data and charging cables, some are data cables that are rated higher, etc. Anyway, enough preaching there. Hello, Rob. Agree with the M5 Mark II. Thank you. I think there might be something wrong with my EM5 because the autofocus used to be faster than lightning, so I could shoot out of a moving car, but the used one I just bought seems slow. It could be. Just make sure you got a fresh battery, and also maybe the sensor has a little bit of haze on it that's affecting the contrast detect. So maybe a sensor cleaning would fix that, possibly. On Facebook, I always recommend you for YouTube. Oh, thank you, Robin. Leon says, in South Africa, we have constant, daily load shedding of power. If that happens during firmware update, will the camera still be stuck? Okay, and revert to... No. It depends where in the process of the firmware update it loses power. So the best way to do it, if you have a laptop, do it through a laptop, and the laptop has to have a fully charged battery. So fully charge your laptop battery, unplug it from your dirty power source, and then make sure you have fully charged battery in the camera. If you don't have a laptop, you might consider investing in a UPS supply for your desktop PC. so that you get an uninterrupted power. I mean, you can buy one that it only has to last 5 minutes. You can buy 5-10 minute UPS backups relatively inexpensively, and that would probably be your best bet if you got, you know, really dirty power. And UPSs, they can get expensive. They have like those sine wave UPSs and stuff. You know, that's a little bit of beyond me exactly what makes a good power supply versus a bad one. I mean UPS, but I think if you buy the APC brand UPS, you'll be okay. So buy a brand name, check the ratings. I mean, do a little bit of due diligence on power supply or UPS backups if you can't use a laptop. You know, Elaine, to everyone on the PL8, the only thing that's really lacking that the other cameras, Olympus cameras, have is silent mode. There's no silent shutter on the Pen PL8 that I'm aware of. And in video mode, it only goes up to ISO 3200. So that's another limitation. And you can't change the frames per second. But if you don't care about video, it's okay. For photography, the only limitation I found was really in the silent shutter mode. Other than that, it does just about everything. Another tip, do not let Rob handle your camera because it will void the warranty. Oh my god, I know. When using, say, my Pen F, the self-timer goes from 2 seconds to 12 seconds. We could do something. Yes, you can do something in between, Colin. You just use the custom shutter. So, you just go into the custom shutter. Let's see. See, there's the 2 second you're talking. There's custom, right? And then click the info button. And then just tell it to take 1 picture instead of 3. And over here you can set the timer anything between 1 second and 30 seconds. And then you can even tell it if you want it to autofocus when it takes the picture or not. So that's a really good feature. That's a way to use the self timer and set it to anything between 1 and 30 seconds. Hi Rob, any more vids coming up for the EM5 Mark III? Yes, I am working on the play menu. But I'll go through more. I'll have some more time this week to do some. This past week I had a couple of jobs I had to go to, and then I did that live streams. You know, I vlogged the one job I went to on my real estate, but yeah, I'll get to some. Hi Rob, don't you use Flickr account? I don't use it much. I did post something about a month ago, some images, but yeah, I should use it more. My Flickr account has a lot of my old Nikon pictures on it, and just a handful of my like the first 2 pages might be Olympus stuff, but then after that it's all Nikon. I should use it more. I should use it more. There are better platforms out there. I guess. What else is out there, though, if you don't want to use Flickr? I mean, like I said, I remember 500px was one, but I don't use that one. Derek says, I asked the question on setting the shutter speed and aperture priority. You can set the ISO, but not the shutter, because sometimes don't want fast shutter street photo. Aperture priority. Yeah, you know, for street photography, you're talking about almost being in full manual, right? So you can do full manual mode with auto ISO, and then just use the EV meter, right? to fix your exposure. I mean, you can preset it to something close, and then all you have to do is adjust the aperture or shutter, and that's really the only way to do everything, is fully control the camera manually. Just start the camera with an exposure that's close to the current lighting. If the lighting's changing a lot, it would be kind of a pain, but it's still gonna be done. You're welcome, Elaine. Gizmos. Are you putting the cart before the horse? Only learn to use a gizmo when you need it. Get out there, take pictures, evaluate them, then look at gizmos to avoid mistakes. Yes. I think the problem for me was I thought I was taking decent pictures, you know. So then I started looking at the gizmos pretty quickly. But like I said, I'm a tech guy. I'm kind of a nerd, so the gizmos attracted me more than the photography itself. And, you know, I love taking pictures, but then I love seeing the technology that would take the picture. Now I'm kind of coming back around to like cameras. Cameras have kind of peaked technology, you know, technically speaking. And now I'm really starting to appreciate the art and creativity of photography. So proud to be this man's planet. Leon, Rob, so I have connect with my Wi-Fi router to UPS as well. Otherwise the update, yes. Yes, you would do both. The Wi-Fi router and it really depends on how your Wi-Fi is set up, because you know, however your internet is coming in, that might go into a box that has to be on a UPS, and then that box goes into your router. So you have to back up like the internet box, like a cable box. I forget what they call it exactly, but there's a cable box, there's a your Wi-Fi or your router, and then your camera. So all three. So I used to have three things on UPS: my desktop, my Wi-Fi router, and my cable box. Now my setup is simplified a bit, that the router and cable box are one piece. So I only have to back up two things, or have two things on UPS. Wow, I had to resign on a laptop. When are you to broadcast the QA and A? I normally do them Thursdays and Sundays. Oh, Rick's saying download the update to your laptop. I don't know if that's an option though, Rick. It depends on the camera, right? I think you know, the way I've been doing my firmware updates is through Olympus Workspace. I don't know if there's an option to update the camera a different way, because I know some cameras you can do it through the SD memory card, like my Nikons do it that way. And apparently the M1 Mark III you can update through the OI Share app, which you know, some people seem to like that idea. I'm not a big fan of that. That's too many moving pieces, really. But yeah, I've only updated through Workspace. If there's a way to download the firmware updates separately and update the camera, I'm not aware of it. Though I wouldn't be surprised if there's a way to do that. Okay, Hans, you're taking the Mark III out this spring. Awesome. Thank you for the live video. For those still wanting to show highlights and shadows while composing shot, go to menu D. Yes. Yeah, in the display menu. D for display, right? Thank you, Deborah. Trying to figure out the Wi-Fi on camera also. Yeah, me too. I mean, I struggle with the app myself, getting the camera to connect, downloading images. I mean, I've done it on and off, but it's so cumbersome for me. I'm just not a Wi-Fi app kind of guy. I mean, I'm gonna try and do it. I'm gonna try and do a tutorial on it. So I keep experimenting with it, and I'm trying to figure out a way. But the problem is everybody has different phones, right? So maybe a different, not only workflow. Workflow should be similar despite the phone that you have, because it's the same app. But you know, what settings in the phone make the Wi-Fi work better? Like putting it in airplane mode, or turning off Bluetooth, or you know, it's like it's just too many variables there to make a tutorial that would work consistently for everyone. So don't look for a Wi-Fi app video from me for a while until Olympus really smooths that whole workflow out. I just don't think it's just not a viable option for me. It's just easier to take the memory card out and load the images. Rob or others, why does some software convert ORF images shot in monotone to color when imported for editing? Because the ORF file is a raw image which is full color. Raw images captures the entire data from the sensor, which includes all the color information. The monotone image that you see, like in Workspace, for a raw file is actually, Workspace is applying the camera settings to the raw file. So if you set the camera for monotone, when you bring it into Workspace, the raw file is going to be there, but it's going to use the camera settings and change it back to monotone, because Olympus Workspace can read the extra metadata in the file that has the camera settings, where a lot of software, it'll read an ORF file, but it's not able to read that extended metadata with the camera settings telling the software that you shot in monotone. And you know, in a Workspace, you can actually take that monotone image and convert it back to full color if you want, if it's the raw image. So it's, you know, that, and I really like Workspace. You know, I use it for most of my editing actually. But that's why. That's why Workspace does it. Workspace sees the camera settings that you used when you took the picture and applies it to the raw file. But raw files can be converted back to color. Why update firmware if everything is working and the update is not relative to the need? Well, I think, Lauren, I can't tell you for sure, but they do include bug fixes sometimes that aren't listed on the website. That's what someone told me. But yeah, there are people that never update their firmware and they're fine. You know, and I think that's fine, you know. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? You're welcome, Hans. Usually it's a bin file. Yes, it's a bin file. The firmware updates, I'm sorry, the firmware updates are bin files. I guess that means binary, right? I have several lenses from OM series trying to decide to sell them. Oh, you know, Hans, I would keep, if you have the 24 f 2.8, the 24 millimeter f 2.8, I'd keep that, and the 50 millimeter 1.8 and the 135 millimeter f 3.5. Those three lenses are awesome, awesome lenses, and I think you'll appreciate keeping those because you won't get much for them. You might get $100 for the 24 millimeter, but you might get like $30 for the 50 millimeter and $30 or $40 for the 135 millimeters, so you're not going to get much for them. But I would keep those three if you have those three. All of the rest of the Olympus glass from that era, I'm not that familiar with. But those three I know are solid. The 50 f1.8, the 24 2.8, and the 135 3.5. Solid, solid lenses. Always download, never over the internet. I mean, I agree with that in principle, Rick, about downloading the files onto your computer, then updating directly from a file on your computer. So it eliminates, it's the old adage, right? A chain's only as strong as the weakest link. So if you can eliminate or shorten that chain, you have fewer links that might be weak. Concerning tripods, do you still recommend the Mi Photo? Yes, I still use that all the time. The Mi Photo Backpacker Air, I really love that tripod. I mean, it's a little awkward to work with, and because of the its size, it's very small, and working with the head on there is kind of awkward because it's not like it's a ball head, but the motion of rotating it is the same action used to loosen and tighten it, right? To raise and lower it. So the action is a little bit awkward, but in terms of portability and is the key, right? Is for me is being able to take a tripod with me. I mean, I can put the tripod in my pocket almost with one leg, and then the other two legs hang out, but I used to go out on photo walks with just the tripod hanging out of my pocket because it's just so small and lightweight. But it still gives you the height that I need. I think it'll go up to almost 60 inches. Like I can get it up to about this high for me. So it's a little bit below my eye level, but it's tall enough that you can still get, a decent shot if you want to be at that level. Gotta feed the cat. Okay, Rick. See you in 5 minutes. Probably been 5 minutes already since reading this message. Regarding firmware, wish Olympus would send you an email. Yeah. I mean, they send you promotions, right? Why not send you an update for firmware? Costa says, maybe sometimes when a new lens is released, a firmware update is necessary. Yes, I see that time to time. Sometimes they're updating compatibility with a new lens or a new flash, whatever. But if you're not buying that lens or that flash system, you don't need to update. Will non-Olympus lenses, if marked for Micro Four Thirds, work? Yes. All Micro Four Thirds native lenses work on any Micro Four Thirds camera. So you can buy a Panasonic lens, Micro Four Thirds, and it'll work on your camera. You can buy a Sigma lens, Micro Four Thirds, it'll work on your camera. There's some trade-offs sometimes when you use third-party lenses. If you don't buy an Olympus branded lens, like you'll never be able to use, I think, high-res shot mode with a third-party lens. I think that is going to be Of course, I could be lying. There are some features though. I know like focus stacking in camera would be one thing that you'd never get on a third-party lens, but it's a very finite list of items. You know, generally buying third-party lenses, no problem. I just had the example with Darktable today. Thanks for that. Oh, okay, you're welcome. As a veteran, I believe you shoot full frame before you aren't tempted to go back. Tempted to go back to full frame mirrorless pretty much negate the pros of... I guess you're asking, am I ever tempted to go back to full frame? I'm not. I'm not really tempted because I still have my D750, so the temptation is mitigated a lot because I have a full frame if I ever want to go out and shoot with it. The only thing that's tempted me full frame wise is like the Panasonic or the Nikon Z7 that have native like 47 megapixel images. But that's about it. Now that we have handheld high-res shot mode in the Olympus EM1 Mark III, I think I'll go with that, you know, instead of, say, an A7R4 or an A7R3 or Nikon Z7 that have native 47 megapixel sensors. They're so expensive. Oh my god, what's the Panasonic S1R cost, or the Nikon Z7 or something like that? But I'm not tempted in terms of overall image quality or low noise capability. All of those things are very minimal problems for me with Micro Four Thirds, because I just don't have any professional work that would require constantly be in low light or changing light. Or jobs that require high megapixels, right? It's just purely a hobby. So I'm not really tempted by full frame a lot. There's always that tiny bit, right? But if full frame, then why not go medium format with like a Fuji GX50, right? They cost the same as a full frame sensor camera. You know, I see them now for like $3,500 or less. So things are tempting to me because I want that different experience, but not for any professional reason. Casa saying he's going to Arcadia National Park. Awesome, in Martha Vineyards. Yeah, that would be awesome. I hear Martha Vineyards. My buddy Walter Rowe goes to Martha Vineyards time to time. He loves it up there. A lot of interesting houses out there. I mean, like you can go down the street and every house will be a different color. Tornovitz is asking, what is your opinion about the non-sealed weather of the Pen F? Is it a problem for street photography when it's raining? Because I'm tempted to take it. Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I would not take that camera. I've taken it out in the rain, so I count myself lucky. I didn't have any problems, but I would not do it because they didn't design this camera for weather sealing. I mean, you got these two rain buckets right here, the microphones. And then every nook and cranny on these dials, they're not designed to wick away the water like a weather sealed camera. Because it's not just the rubber seals and things that they put in the cameras, but it's also how they design the buttons and how water's attracted or not attracted to certain shapes of the metal and things. I mean, it's way over my head, weather sealing. But I do know that, yeah, you don't want to take these you don't want to take these in the rain if you can help it. What I did once is I took saran wrap and wrapped it around the camera so that I could still have access to things but it was still kind of protected. But that was so stupid. I don't recommend doing it. I did it once and never did it again. Look at that. I have no lens cap on this. Why? That's how these sensors get dust on them, you know? You just leave them sitting around with no lens on them or lens cap. Hi Rob, I'm testing the Viltrox mount adapter EFM1, the Canon lens on the EM5 III, and so far impressed. Oh wow, okay. No, I've never tried like those adapters where you can adapt. I mean, I haven't seen one for Nikon because I don't have any Canon glass. But no, I haven't tried anything, and I'm not too. I did have a lens focal reducer, but I can't find it now. I spent about an hour looking for it. Because I did want to talk about that thing. I never use it, and you know, I guess that's all I need to say, right? Is as far as what my opinion of focal reducers are. Oh yeah, Leon's talking about Young Nuo and Venus, and yeah, one other company which I can't remember either, have joined the Micro Four Thirds format. So it'll be interesting to see what they come out with. I mean, there's already a lot of lenses already, but you know, the more choice we have, the better, right? John says, I just got the workspace update to version 1.3. The update notes don't really say what was updated. Just support for the EM1 Mark III. I'll have to download and see if there's anything different, because I do use workspace quite a bit. Maybe I'll see something different. I don't know. But that may be the only thing, that it works with the EM1 Mark III. There might be some things, you know, to speed it up more. You know, hopefully they worked on some of the slow processing people experience with that. Like, I know I had one version that I could not use my GPU. It was always grayed out, the GPU setting. And then after an update, I was able to, you know, select GPU, and now it's a lot faster. A friend lent me his Canon AE1 with a spool of film loaded, never used in years. Depth of field preview does not stop down the aperture diaphragm consistently. You know, that depth of, Bryce, I think sometimes it's not the depth of field preview button on the camera that's defective. It's the lens itself. The blades are sticking. You know, they're not opening and closing. So check the action of the lens itself. Maybe that might be the problem. Oh, if I read the second part of your message, you kind of figured that out. But that's what I would think it is. But you know, the AE1 is all electronic, so it could be, yeah, it could be something bad electronically with the camera. Yeah, if the depth of field does not work, then neither will the diaphragm close when the shutter is true. Yeah. Yeah, if it's the blades are sticky, obviously, then it's a mechanical issue. But if it's an electronic issue, yeah, it's going to affect your exposure and everything. You know, I'm not that familiar with the AE1 and what kind of problems that, you know, that come with age with that camera. But every camera has problems with age, right? Especially fully electronic ones like the AE1. So maybe go to some enthusiast AE1 forum. You know, I'm sure there's one on DP Review or somewhere, and check with those guys. They might tell you, you know, just clean the contacts on this part of the camera and it'll be fine. I don't know. Maybe your contacts are dirty between the lens mount and the camera. You're welcome, Tornivs. No, I have two Olympus 3940 f1.8 and a Vivitar 70 to 210 Sigma 38 and a Soligar f2.8 135. I would get rid of the zoom lenses. The Vivitar 70 to 210 Hans, I would get rid of the zoom lenses. They're useless on a digital camera. They're a pain in the butt to use, and generally they sucked. You know, some of the Vivitar Series 1 lenses were pretty good, but if it's not a Series 1 zoom lens, I'd chuck it or use it as a paperweight. You're not going to get any money for those. The Soligor 2.8 135, that might be a fun lens to keep. You know, that's a really interesting focal length on full frame. So when you put it on Micro Four Thirds, it's going to act like a 270, right? But I use a 135 time to time. I have a Nikon 3.5 that I use time to time. So I would keep that one. The 40 f1.8 is, that's not a bad lens either. Maybe keep the 40 and the 135 and get rid of everything else. That's what I would do. Yeah, just get an adapter. But yeah, don't keep the zooms. Use them as paperweights. They're just so, the zooms from that era were bad, even if they were brand name. I mean, there's a few that are really good, but you would know it because they're very pricey. But if you see a zoom lens, if you look online for those zoom lenses that you have, if they're selling for a high price, I'd keep it or sell it. That's good advice, right? Keep it or sell it. Well, all I'm saying is you may have a gem there and not know it. But I seriously doubt it. Sigma and Vivitar made crap back in the day, with the exception of the Series 1 Vivitar. Let's see. Whoops. Well, my first bit of spam here. First ever spam. Good deal. Let me delete that for everybody. Nobody needs to see that. All right, let's see. How much better is the autofocus on the OM1 Mark III compared to the Pen F? In video, it's 1,000 times better. And in photography, it's really a lot better in low light. In good light, you probably won't be able to tell much difference for single point autofocus. In poor light, you'll see a big difference. And then for continuous autofocus, it's a lot better in photography. And because the Pen F is like, it's the worst of all the Olympus cameras I have in terms of autofocus. You know, like if the OM1 Mark III is a perfect 10, for example, and the EM1 Mark II is say a 9, the Pen F is like a 5, you know, and then all the other cameras from Olympus are between 6 and 9, but yeah, it's at least twice as good on the Mark IIIs now. Found workspace, no version. Function to replace audio data. Oh, okay. On the LSP, and it supports selectable background for color print. Okay, some little things on workspace 1.3. Prior, you commented to me, but was another person on here. Okay. The Pen PL8 lightning fast autofocus. It's the same as the M10 Mark II. It's not bad. Lightning fast is relative. Like the EM1 Mark II and Mark III, I would say lightning fast, but they're all pretty fast. It's fine. It's better than the Pen F, I'll tell you that. The Marked Wolf, the DF is a great camera. Yeah, the Nikon DF. If I can get that for less than $1,000, maybe. But right now, it's still a little bit too pricey. I mean, I'm tempted by cameras for their aesthetics. I thought the DF was a good-looking camera. You're welcome, Bryce. How much better is the autofocus on the M1 Mark? Oh, I'm sorry, I answered that one. Shooting with non-weather sealed street photography. Some ideas, you know, like if it's raining, go to the mall. That makes sense. But you know, some malls, they're very finicky about taking pictures inside the mall. I mean, I haven't done it myself, but I always see people online, they go in the mall to street shoot and the security throws them out. And that was in the US and the UK and some other countries. Yeah, they're very finicky about that. I have done things like at a bus stop, they have that awning. I have taken pictures under an awning. And then when I leave the awning to go to another spot, I stuff the camera under my jacket or raincoat. Thanks, Rob. Just been into the menu and altered my self-timer to 5 seconds after you show me what to do. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, the 2.8 Solagore seems like a great lens. I think so. I mean, the 135 millimeters from that era, they're not very complicated lens designs, so they could make them really good. You know, it might be a 3 or 4 lens element, you know, glass. You know, some of them were 5 element. Well, most of them were 5 element glass lenses, but they were very simple optically, so it wasn't hard to get them super sharp. You can hang out the side with your best friends. Christian, how are you? Hi, Rob. Do you think that the vintage glasses are a fashion today, or do they really provide optical quality in the mirrorless? I think that the attraction of vintage lenses is you can get focal lengths and speeds like faster glass for a fraction of what autofocus lenses cost. So like, you know, 105 millimeter f2.5 is like $100. And if you try to find an equivalent in mirrorless, you know, you're spending $800, $1,000. I think that's the main attraction, right? Is the pricing. And there's a guy online that loves shooting with vintage glass. And he gets really amazing photographs, you know, that have character, like whether it's the character of the bokeh in the background, like some of them kind of give a swirly bokeh, some of them give soap bubble bokeh, some of them kind of give sort of a dreamy kind of bokeh. I mean, there's lots of different lenses with different characters that people look for. And sometimes they like the vignetting, but a lot of vintage glass, they were, you know, being designed for film. They didn't have really the same I guess, tolerances that a modern lens would have. So, meaning, you know, they didn't have to be as sharp, right, as a modern lens, corner to corner. So the lenses, a lot of the lenses from the vintage area have defects, but those defects are what give them that character. So I think, you know, I know the first name's guy is Matthew or Mattias. It's not Mattias Burling, but it's another guy that does a lot of vintage glass. And you know what he does is the stuff he does with vintage glasses, and he tries a lot of different glass. So I wish I could tell you the name of the channel. I haven't watched it in so long I can't even remember. So I think it's definitely a niche area of photography that people that go into vintage glass for the character of the lens. But it's definitely I think the primary drive initially is for the being able to get a focal length at an aperture for a lot less money. At least that's what drove my purchases for vintage glass was, you know, getting fast glass for cheap. Like you can get a 50 millimeter f1.4 for $50, you know. Hi Rob, thanks for your videos. Can you show me the 12 to 40 on the EM10 Mark II? Oh, okay, yeah. Where is my 12 to 40? Ouch. Oh my God, my knees are going bad. I'll, no, I have a grip on my EM10 Mark II. As you can see. And it's going to affect, God. Yeah, that's not good. Well, anyway, so I have a grip on it, all right? But I'll show you what it looks like with the grip. With this grip, it's not a big deal. I'm sorry for that loud noise, everyone. But there you have it. That's one angle. So it's not bad. A lot of people shoot with this lens on the M10 Mark II and they don't have any problem, but I do recommend you get a grip for your EM10 Mark II either way. See if I can get it in the light right. Of course, I have the black version of this camera. And then without the lens hood, it looks a lot more compact. But if I extend the lens out, right, it's perfectly fine when you have a grip. Because you see how my fingers are? They come around into a nice perfect C. This, when you can hold a camera like this versus holding a camera like this, you can comfortably hold heavier lenses, right? There you go. Without this grip, your hand might get a little tired if you're shooting like for a couple hours. But and that's with the lens hood reversed on it. All right, I gotta put it down before I drop it. Okay, it's a great lens. If you buy the lens, buy a grip for your camera too. Okay. Let's prepare some tough questions for Peter and Robin. Definitely. I'll post a link up on my community tab, or you can go to my forum at robtrek.com and post the questions there. But I think the community tab makes more sense. John says, I've watched all your videos concerning lens comparisons and video comparisons of AF. I can't help noticing that your EM10 II has much better than what I remember from the GX85. I know, John, in low light, the EM10 does a little better than the GX85 in autofocus. That said, I haven't taken the GX85 out a lot, but the 3 times I took it out side by side with the EM10 or Pen F or whatever the camera I had, I did notice that in low light it did struggle a little bit with focusing and photography. I haven't really tried it for video and things like that. I mean, the Pen F, okay, I do remember specifically the Pen F and the GX85 side by side with the same 25mm Panasonic lens, because I have 2 of them. The Pen F focus better than the GX85, and the Pen F is the worst camera I have in terms of autofocus. So yeah, you know, that reminds me, I have 2 of these. I have 2 of these 25mm f1.7 lenses. I was thinking about maybe doing a raffle or something in a live stream, and then announcing a winner in the next one, something like that. What do you guys think of that? Like, you know, maybe a $1 or $2 raffle, and you get a chance to win one of my 25mm lenses. I mean, the other one I have is practically brand new. I only took it out one time when I wanted to compare this against the Pen F. I haven't dropped it, I swear. Because I've dropped like 3 things during this live stream, but I've never dropped that one. I don't know, just a thought. Maybe raffle off some of my gear here. I mean, I may not get as much money from a raffle as I would if I sold it, but it's just collecting dust here. Because potentially, right, a raffle, you know, I'm just doing the numbers, right? Like if I do $1 or $2 raffle tickets, and 100 of you buy tickets, you know, I'll get $100 for the lens. Which is what I would get, you know, I might get $70 for it if I trade it in for something, or $50. I don't know. If you guys want me to do a raffle on some of my stuff here, let me know. Because I'm trying to get money to buy a G9 and an EM1 Mark III. I just don't have the budget for those. I'd have to max out one of my cars. I could get one of the cameras. The Nikon DF got all the hate when it was released, but now it's still a bit high. It's about $1,100, huh? Okay. It's an awesome camera, though. I mean, it had the D4 16 megapixel sensor in it, and I thought aesthetically it was beautiful. Oh, really, Sefrin? You're a tourist everywhere in Florida. I guess if you have a camera, huh? $800 on Vancouver Island. Oh, it's 8 a.m. Sorry, that's military time. Oh, 800. Of course, rifleman, right? That makes sense. Awesome. I use an older Nikon DSLR for shooting on a rainy day. One would not care so much about it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the EM5 Mark II is weather sealed, and people have told me some stories that they take those things everywhere, in conditions I would never want to go in personally, and it works fine. So what time are you on Sunday morning and Thursday? Oh, Sunday mornings, 9:30 a.m. New York City time. Thursdays, like 3:45, 4 p.m. New York City time. Vintage lenses are too soft. Yeah, some of them are very soft, especially wide open. Again, that's the character though, right? Yeah. Driving around in a car on a raining day for rainy day photography, I definitely want to do some of that. I could do that for cold days too, right? Doesn't have to be raining, just freaking cold. I got up this morning, it was 24 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like what, -3 or 4 degrees Celsius? I know that's nothing for somebody like Thomas Heaton who's just buried in snow in a tent, but that's too cold for me. I don't have a grip on it. Motor says, I use vintage Canon FD lenses. Like Rob said, it's not better or good lens. It's just another character of your photos. Yes. That must be when I dropped my gear. So you think film's getting expensive because young Zoomers are getting interested in it? Really? I thought film was expensive because not many people are making them, so your choices are limited, but so we're kind of getting hit on both sides, right? There's not a lot of supply, and then the demand is increasing, so the prices are going up. Don't max out my credit cards. Yeah, too late. I have about 4 or 5 of them. 3 out of, and on any given day, 3 out of 4 of my credit cards are maxed out. Oh no, I already have the lens, the 25, but that's great. Yeah, I'll do a raffle on Sundays. So it seems like people are interested. Yeah, I'm trying to finance, you know, I haven't paid off my EM1 Mark or my EM5 Mark III yet. I still owe money on this thing. I mean, if we so I'm just trying to extend my budget a little by selling some of this old stuff. I mean, I got a lot of stuff that actually somebody might actually like. Like the 25 f1.7 is a great lens, and a lot of my Nikon stuff I would love to sell it, but it's pricey. I don't know if I'd get enough money on a raffle to even make that make sense. Like my 70 to 200 and my Zeiss, I'm never selling that. My Zeiss Distagon, that I love that lens. Sell my Fujifilm, not because they are bad, but you have indicated it's not a match for you, so why force it? I don't know. I'm still thinking about doing something with this Fuji. I mean, every other video that comes up on my YouTube feed is about how great these cameras are. So I'm like, what am I missing? I mean, it's a nice camera, but I don't know. I was thinking about trading this on the EM5 or EM1 Mark III, but I would get nothing for this. You know, I paid like what with this kit lens, I think I paid 1,200 or almost 1,300 with tax and all. And then I bought this grip for it. I'd probably get like $400 for it if I trade it, if that. And it's brand new. I mean, there's probably less than 200 shots on this thing. Oh, so I need to take it out. It's a nice little camera. Let's see, maybe stack some silver and sell off. Just bought an EM1 Mark II for 800 bucks. That's awesome, John. Stack some silver. I don't know. Oh, that's right, Lauren. You suggested that in your email about the G95 being smaller and more to my liking than the G9. That's a good point. But I like the top plate LCD on the G9. So if I'm gonna, you know, and the G85 is the same size as my EM1 Mark II. So it's not so small that, because like the EM1 Mark II, I don't take it out much because it is bigger than every other camera I have here. Olympus wise, it's my biggest one. So I'd rather take the M5 Mark III out. Now the EM1 Mark III with the added feature of the high-res shot mode, you know, handheld high-res shot mode, I might take it out a lot more. I don't know. You know, just when you have gas, you can justify anything, right? Oh, thank you, Mark Dwarf. Which one would you choose? Either the M1 Mark II with 40,000 actuations and a kit lens for $950, or an EM5 Mark II with 9,000 actuations? Ooh, that's a tough call, Andrew. I'm leaning towards the EM1 Mark II because it has the better grip. For 40,000 is potentially a lot of pictures. It's hard to say because, you know, with the EM1 Mark II, they have pro capture mode, and you can hit 40,000 pictures in a few minutes with pro capture. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but it doesn't take long, so it might be a virtually new camera. So if you can actually see the camera in person, I would inspect the camera to make sure it looks like it's been well kept or looks relatively new. If you don't have the option to look at them, I might lean towards the M5 Mark II, but that's not a particularly good deal on the M5 Mark II. I think the EM1 Mark, those are just those are fair deals. I wouldn't call those great deals. I would, but I would lean towards the M1 Mark II with 40,000 actuations. But it just depends on how well the camera, because if 40,000 actuations for me, that's a lot, and I drop the camera all the frickin' time. You wouldn't want a camera for me that has 40,000 actuations. So it just really depends. It's best if you can see them up front or get really good pictures of them. If they don't have a lot of scratches on them and stuff, then maybe. I mean, if you look close at my EM10, you can see I've dropped it on its head many times. Now I have this grip on it, but you can't see all of the dings and dents on this thing. And now the EVF itself doesn't work. I mean, the auto switching doesn't work. I can pick one, EVF or live view, but I can't auto switch anymore. So I don't use this camera a lot anymore. Chris is saying people still buy on eBay. Yeah. That's true. I used to sell a lot on eBay. But I feel like if somebody can win one of the lenses from me, and they only got a $2 or $1 raffle, that would be a lot better than. And if I can get about the same amount of money, give or take, that would be better than selling it to somebody on eBay for whatever the going price is. I'd rather sell it to somebody here for $1 or $2, because if you don't win, you're only out $1, right? Or $2. And if you do win, you got a lens for next to nothing. I think that would be better. I'd rather do that just from a community standpoint. Because selling it on eBay, yeah, I would definitely get a price that would be relatively fair, but it's not as much fun or as valuable. I don't know. I'm still pondering the raffle idea. Maybe we'll have to try it and see. The raffle would have to go beyond just the live stream, though, because I rarely get 100 people on the live stream. Close sometimes, but not that often. Oh, hey, Arthur. When did you drop in? How you doing? Let's buy a wrist strap for Rob. Oh, no, I wouldn't wear it. I make my own straps. Like that are adjustable. So sometimes I adjust this part. This is just a paracord with a fisherman's knot. So sometimes I'll adjust this and use this as a wrist strap. Like this, you know. But I only drop my cameras usually at home. I rarely drop my cameras. Actually, well, now I'm lying. I have dropped my cameras in the field many times too. And using a wrist strap is very awkward for me because I'm vlogging. So I'd have to take it off my wrist to turn it this way, then turn it back this way to take pictures. So wrist straps are very awkward for me. I see the Panny 25 f1.7 is sharp at f8, decent around the other settings. Yeah, it's a decent lens. I mean, for the money, it's awesome. Thoughts on the upcoming Voigtlander 60mm f9.5? It depends. Voigtlander is amazing, but it's going to be a manual focus. And I don't see a lot of modern portrait photographers using manual focus lenses, If you believe all the hype about eye detect and all the crap that they sell, or promote now, I don't think it'll do well. It sounds, it sounds like a beautiful lens, but it's going to be pricey, and it's going to be huge and heavy on a Micro Four Thirds camera. And being manual focus, I don't see a lot of portrait photographers moving into that. Now, if you're a hobbyist and buying lenses and stuff is not a big deal. You're not like maxing out your credit cards to buy stuff like me. Then, yeah, get it, definitely. But I think I'd rather get an autofocus lens like the 75 f1.8, because the depth of field at 0.95, 60mm, man, that's razor thin, right? So you might get like one eyelash in focus if you're doing a headshot. So you're not going to shoot it at 0.95 anyway. but I'm not a hardcore portrait photographer at all, so I can't really give you feedback as a portrait photographer what I think of that lens, which it seems to be targeted for. You know, for the photography I do, it doesn't interest me at all. Let's see. Wow, well, I'm caught up, I think. If I missed anybody's questions, you know, just ask me again right now. Now is a good time because I'm caught up. You know, Lauren, the paracord. Are you buying like an actual paracord and making them yourself like I do, or does somebody sell paracord straps? Because the way I bought these little hook loop things, right? From the hardware store. These are for keys, right? So this lets me just attach and detach just as easily as the Peak Design ones with the button. Because I can take this off and I don't have that stupid thing hanging off from Peak Design, right? Because the Peak Design has the things hanging off of it. And they're not cheap, man. It's like, you know, 40, 50 bucks for a Peak Design strap, if not more. I have one, actually. I could raffle that off. Have a $1 raffle on my Peak Design. It's downstairs somewhere. I bought it for my Nikon because I wasn't a vlogger when I was shooting with my Nikon. So yeah, the wrist strap made a lot of sense. And that's something I could raffle off easy. Raffle off the PL8. Yeah, maybe. I wouldn't do $5 though. I think I would do a $1 raffle because this is the camera I take out all the time. But you can see it's got hardcore dents in it, and the screen doesn't lay flat anymore because I've dropped it so many times. It works perfectly fine. I mean, it still works, and it's functional in every way. Probably doesn't have that many shutter clicks on it either because I use it mostly for video. Maybe I'll raffle this off, but I like this camera. See, I can't just let things go. Maybe I'll do that. I'll raffle that off for $1. I just have to make enough to get the shipping costs back. China makes straps 2 for $6.96. Okay. Where am I located? I'm in New Mexico, a couple hours ahead of you. Yes, I'm in Maryland. Hans, I'm in Maryland. Peak Design is $25. Okay. I can't remember what I paid for it. It was so long ago. And then I ended up not using it that much. I mean, I used it for a while, but then I stopped. I stopped using Nikon in general. Maybe what I can do is raffle the Pen PL8 together with the Peak Design strap and the 25mm lens. So I'll raffle, but I'll probably come out a little more ahead if I raffle them off separately. I'll take your dings and dents. Okay. I mean, the thing, like, if you buy it from me, at least you know I can be honest and tell you it's working, right? Because when you buy things on eBay, man, there's always that risk in the back of your mind that maybe it's not going to work. And yeah, you can return it, get your money back, but I'm always hesitant to buy. Like, if it costs more than $100, I'm always hesitant to buy things on eBay. Never sell the PL8 as it's too sexy looking. I have a Pen F. I mean, I like the PL8, but Rob, what lens do you recommend if you have a 25mm f1.8, a 12 to 40 Pro, and a 40 to 150? Well, I need a little more context. I mean, you're pretty much covered. The next lens I would get is something wider because you don't have anything really that wide. The 12mm is pretty wide, but maybe consider a 9-18 or there's a $99 8mm fisheye body cap lens that's a lot of fun. So you could try something wider. Optec clips. Oh, that's interesting, Patrick. What's an Optec clips? I'll have to look that up. Isn't the Olympus 45 1.2 Pro? Yeah, a lot of people love that lens for portrait work. Yeah, I know, Hans, right? We're always talking about buying lenses. we should be talking about taking better pictures, right? Olympus needs to give you the pre-production cameras. Well, you know, I buy them eventually. Like the M5 Mark III, I bought it as soon as it came out. So there's like about a month of videos on pre-production stuff, right? Like Peter and Robin did some, and then dozens of other people did pre-production camera work. So it's good. It's good in the sense that you get a feel for the camera, but it's not like owning the camera for months on end and really getting to know it. But I think the Olympus line now, I'm at a point that I could buy a camera and really know it well very quickly. I can't say the same for Panasonic or Fujifilm. You know, I'm still learning those cameras. Not so much feature-wise, because I can dig in the menus and get what I want, but just getting the best out of them. I'm struggling a little bit, still getting the best out of them. Like, I was taking some pictures with the Fuji last night. Just, you know, I take like hundreds of pictures just in my living room. And I was finding that I could not handhold that thing for less than 1/30th of a second. Even with the optical image stabilization of the lens, my shots were blurry at 1/30th of a second. I'm so spoiled by the Olympus image stabilization. I was holding my EM5 for 1 second at a time and still getting sharp images in my living room. And in the field, when I'm really, you know, serious about it, I can get up to 5 or 6 seconds, which would be impossible on a Fujifilm. Panasonic doesn't do sexy, but pretty darn good build quality, usability. Yeah, I just, it's not just the looks. I think the ergonomics of the Olympus cameras are better than the Panasonics that I've tried, but I've only tried this, right? So ergonomics are never that great on these low-end cameras anyway. You know, I mean, look how small these dials are here, and these buttons, so tiny. That's why the G9 looks really good, because it's a monster camera with buttons everywhere. Any comment on Chinese lenses? They're cheap, and they do fine. I have some I've bought CCTV lenses for like $35 that are great. They have lots of character. Like there's one on this one. This is a 25 millimeter f1.4. Gives really nice swirly bokeh. It's manual focus, of course. I think I paid like $25 for it. This is a fun lens. So yeah, I've never heard anything terribly bad with the Chinese lenses, because you have to take into account how much they cost. For the money, I don't see any problem with them. I just ordered the M1 Mark III. Oh, congratulations. I'm still learning. Can I program the custom modes to be like the scene mode on my EM10, or how do they work? Yeah, you can. I think the only thing, okay, scene mode, the only thing in scene mode that I have found that I've not been able to duplicate with a custom mode is the Starry, handheld Starry, right? Starry focus. What do they call it? Handheld Starlight, where it takes like 8 or 9 pictures at once and stacks them together. Similar to HDR, but it's doing, instead of taking like 4 pictures, it takes like twice as many. So you get a very nice clean image. That's something I've not seen, something I can find in the menu anywhere else. But other than that, you can program every scene mode. If you know what the settings are in the scene mode, you can program those into the custom modes. Now, I don't think you could necessarily program like a scene mode by name into a custom setting, if that's what you're asking. So, but like I said, I don't have an EM10 Mark III to really know if I'm answering your question or not correctly. The E1 recently, Johan is saying he bought an E1 recently with 1,500 clicks. Yes. Yeah, 5 or 6 megapixels is really all people need. And the CCD sensors, yeah, we talked about that earlier. I think that's definitely a tech that they should still be making cameras with CCD sensors for people that want that look. Especially with the 50 millimeter. Oh, I don't have that lens, so I wouldn't be able to do a review on that lens or that camera. I'm sorry, Johan. Yeah, Mark Wolf, that's true. A lot of YouTube people don't buy the cameras they're reviewing. They get them on loan for review. And I call them drive-by reviews. Not like Peter and Robin. They only do Olympus cameras, so it's not really a drive-by review because they're already familiar with the image quality and everything from the previous versions. That when they get a new Olympus camera, they can kind of give you a competent review of the camera without actually owning it. But yeah, these other channels that do multiple reviews on whatever comes out, they are drawing on their experience with digital cameras in general, but it's still, there's a lot of things. I don't think they ever talk about the things that really make a camera special and why you would want to buy it over another camera. Because they just haven't owned the camera to know what's special about it. So that's what's kept me in Olympus all these years. I mean, three and a half years now. despite all of the fanfare of every camera coming out, my Olympus is my go-to camera for everything, both professionally and personally. The other cameras are more of just a curiosity to me, like the Fujifilm film simulations or the G9 menu system and ergonomics and features. You know, they're more of a curiosity for me than they are anything I would ever seriously consider. Back to the actuation count, I understand it should refer to the mechanical shutter only. To me, it does make sense. Am I wrong? Since electronic shutter, yes. Actuations, I believe, is referring to the mechanical shutter. But again, someone correct me if I'm wrong. Electronic shutter does not affect the wear on the gear at all. You are correct in that. Lauren's asking, do you remember the month called Camera Month near summer discounts? Only lens currently bargain. It's $99. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't figured out the pattern for when things are at their best price. I don't have a feel for that. I mean, it feels like October is always a big deal. But then I don't know. Yeah, I don't have a feel for that, to be honest. Ah. Rob needs CCTV, razor wire, his attack dog, and anti-personnel minefield to protect his enormous collection. Phew, man. You know, I probably don't have half as many cameras as John Softly, though, based on the email I got from him about what he has. Or, oh my God, you know, think about all the cameras somebody like Casey Neistat has, you know? And some of these guys, they probably got tons of gear. I mean, I have a nice collection that I own, but like, I probably have about 24 cameras total, and only about 4 or 5 that I use regularly. The others are just oddities and curiosities. Like, I love my old Maxim. Wait. Sorry. One of my security cameras went off. Where I live, that's no joke. See if anything's happening. I'll show you guys my front door security camera. It's probably just a bird or a cat, right? But I never want to take any chances. We'll watch it together. Nope, nothing. All right, good. Whew. Live another day. There's like so much gun violence where I live. I'm always nervous getting out of my car and coming home. But I do have a ring of security cameras around my house. Just because I'm paranoid, but there is a lot of crime where I live. Wait for the Easter sales. Coronavirus is causing supply issues. Probably. Ken saying he's never seen a bad camera review on YouTube. apparently everyone is good. Yeah, I mean, well, to be fair though, most cameras do take a good picture, but doesn't mean it's good for you, right? Like, it's not the right camera for you. Like, Fujifilm is not really the right camera for me, even though it's got Camera of the Year award and all that crap. It doesn't mean anything to me. When I see a camera get Camera of the Year, you know, how is it for me? Oh, I gotta stop harping on Fujifilm and just use it. Maybe I'll learn to love it. If you can't use the camera you already own, then why update to another camera if you are learning? Learn from your mistakes to achieve better understanding of them and then upgrade. Yeah. Yeah, if you're new to photography, I think, you know, the two best camera values on the market that you can really grow into is the EM10 Mark II for if you want a DSLR style, and then if you want more of a rangefinder style, the GX85. They're very cheap, and really you can expand to almost any level in photography with those cameras. And you'll learn to appreciate all the new tech and features that more expensive cameras have once you understand what these do. But these two cameras do a lot. If you can't use, all right, hold on. Last week I checked the bigger bodies at Best Buy. Yeah, the ergonomics of the Olympus cameras are the best in my opinion. Best for me. I love the dials. The dials are perfect. Rick says, it's precisely what I was forever telling my photography students. It's not what equipment is capable of, it's what you do with it that matters. That's what she said, right? Sorry. That was a cheap shot, but yeah, it's a valid point. Is everything Olympus now made in Vietnam? Probably. I don't know. Let me see. I got my EM5 Mark III. This is the newest camera. It says made in Vietnam. Clearly. So probably. Do I have any new lenses? I don't think I have any new lenses. But this 17 millimeter doesn't say where it was made. If it does, I can't read it. It's too small. Andrew Cho, looking at a used Ollie 14-150 version 2 for $220. Yeah, that's an awesome deal. It's a great lens. I was playing with it a little yesterday at the long end at 150 for some bird shots, and it does all right. I mean, it's not sharp. I mean, it's not great, but at the shorter focal lengths, less than 100 millimeters, that thing is very sharp, and it's a great lens. I think it's justified purchasing if you don't want to swap lenses between the 14-42 and the 40-150 kit lenses. I was very hesitant to get that lens because I was comfortable with swapping lenses, but now that I have that lens, I just don't see any need to take the other two lenses. So I think for $220, man, that's a killer deal. I mean, it goes for $300 typically, so you're getting it for $80 less, assuming it's in good condition and all that. Right, Kostov. Just the way they designed the cameras, the dials and everything, it fits my hand perfectly too. Oh yeah, The angry photographer loves Fuji. I didn't think he hates Olympus. I think he hates the Micro Four Thirds sensor, but I don't think he hates the cameras. I mean, Fujifilm, if you like to shoot in manual mode all the time, it does kind of take you back a little bit to film cameras because it has a physical aperture ring. Well, physical by wire. It has a shutter mode dial, exposure comp. And some of them have the ISO dial that the XT30 does not. But like the XT3 and stuff, I think they have a separate ISO dial too. But I don't know. The Fuji ergonomics just don't work for me. And I'm not saying that because I've started with Olympus. I mean, you ask anybody that doesn't know anything about Olympus, and they take they put an EM1 Mark II in their hands, and they're like, the handling and the feel of the camera is great. I don't think I've ever heard anybody complain about the ergonomics on the Olympus. They bitch about the menus a lot, but not the ergonomics ever. I'll tell Olympus the on-off switch is on the wrong side. Yeah, I think they do that for nostalgic purposes, right? Because their film cameras had the on-off switch on the left side, and they were for the meter back then. But Rick's asking, you can buy some very good reproduction suits of medieval plate armor these days. Maybe useful for street photography in your local area. Yeah, there's a lot of army surplus stores around here. And police surplus, right? Not police, but military surplus that look official enough. I could buy a bulletproof vest and stuff, definitely. Trust me, it's crossed my mind about getting a bulletproof vest. It's just my buddy Walter and I were talking, and his wife were talking about it yesterday. We don't even like to go into Baltimore anymore because it's just people are just getting shot in broad daylight. I was banned by the angry photographer from his live stream because I asked him about being Fujifilm shill. You know, I don't know. I don't have that many subscribers where I get a lot of negative feedback, right? I hear like once you reach a certain threshold, that's when the trolls start coming out after you. But I wouldn't ban somebody if they just called me something like that. That's not a terrible thing to be called a shill. I would just say, no, I'm not a shill, If it starts getting personal, then yeah, maybe, but I don't know. You thought I was British? Really? One of my viewers, Joe Morano, the real Joe Morano, he keeps calling me a mafia mob boss. I don't see that. Like I should be in the mafia or something. I am not going to California, Lauren. I have some relatives there. Too many earthquakes. And I would move right now, but I have too many roots here, too many roots here for me to move. Both in my business and family, right? I could generate new business somewhere else, but this, I don't know. Family's really the reason I stay in this area. Otherwise, I would definitely move further south, like North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, just somewhere a little further south where I'm like out of reach of hurricanes. But also, the winters are very short, and it's warm most of the time. Somewhere right in that range, near the Great Smoky Mountains or something. Heck, move to Sparks, Nevada. Cheaper to live there and can go to Sierras to shoot. Yeah. That's true. Nevada's definitely on the short list, but it's a little bit too far. I'd like to be on the coast, you know? But not too close. Like I said, I got to stay away from the tropical storms and hurricanes. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday. And what about Friday? Low humidity, Cal. I don't care about humidity. Earthquakes do little damage to modern homes and mobile homes. Well, that's probably true, but I'm worried about the big one, like when California breaks off and sinks into the ocean. Not the little quakes. I mean, the little quakes are a problem too. I drop enough things already. You know, if there's a little bitty quake, probably pee my pants. I don't know. Come to Canada. Yeah, it's way too cold in Canada, man. It was like 80 or 90 degrees out when I was watching a video from Chris and Jordan, and it was already snowing in Canada. And I was like, no freaking way. Angry photographer is a little arrogant. Yeah, you know, people that have big personalities, you know, that they're gonna have very big egos too, right? But that's what makes them so big. They have big channels. So I don't like to say people have big egos because that's a little bit too, it's not always accurate, but so I just say big personality, and then that kind of covers whatever people's perception are of them in general. Because my perception of people is different. Hi, Rob. In reference to the shutter actuations, once the shutter mechanism fails, is the camera junk or can you replace the mechanism? Most of the stories I hear are it's not worth it to replace the shutter. I've never had to go through it myself, but the few times people talk about it, they say it's not worth it. And I wouldn't want a camera after a shutter fails. Unless it was right. If it was under warranty, I would do it. But if it's not under warranty, I would just buy another camera. But that's just me. As far as cost, though, like I said, nobody's ever said that it's worth it that I know of. Leave the gun, take the cannoli. It's always raining where you are, huh, Elaine? Man. I assume because Seattle rains a lot. I could never move to Seattle. My last photograph. Quakes and tsunamis. Yeah, I don't want to be one of those, you know, YouTube videos, you know, because they have these videos out where people like, these were the moments before their death. Is a picture, the picture moments before their death. They're like usually doing selfies. That's not me. New Mexico, no earthquakes and nice winters. Maybe. Like I said, it's a little bit too in the middle though. I'm leaning towards Great Smoky Mountains. But you know, I am curious, what are the bugs and mosquitoes like in New Mexico? It's probably not bad at all, right? Like in those drier areas, Nevada, New Mexico. Ah, Montana for fly fishing, yeah. New shutter costs 90 pounds for the EM1. Okay. With replacement? Or is that just the parts? When the volcano under Yellowstone erupts, the whole of North America will be gone. Yeah. All right, bye, Kostov. We'll see you later. Good luck on the haircut, man. I cut my own hair. Of course, it's probably explains a lot of things now, right? People are like, oh, I knew it. There was one, I don't know, if you watch a live stream from a couple of weeks ago, I messed up on my haircut. I accidentally cut this side too short. So you see like this square around my ear. Don't go back and watch it. It's not worth it for that. But I did mess up my haircut a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I think you and I are on the same page there, Rick. I think the sensor's dirty. You know, interfering with the contrast detect. Nobody to Vancouver Island, huh, Ken? Come to the Philippines. The weather is best from December to early March. Beer and babes on the house. Yeah, you know, I'm not really a out of the country kind of guy, like traveling to different countries. And whenever I hear the Philippines, I mean, this is a total stereotype, okay? But I always feel like I'm gonna wake up in a hotel with no kidney or something. You know, they got those organ thieves in these countries. I probably saw it in a movie or something, and that's why my brain, when I think of the Philippines, I think of that. But mosquitoes is first thing we notice when we come out there outside New York. None where I am. But they're by the, yeah, I guess anywhere they're by the Rio Grande. Anywhere there's water, there's mosquitoes, right? So I would imagine, like in drier areas, you know, you sort of replace the mosquitoes with rattlesnakes. Oh, I'm sorry, Rick. I got it all wrong. You're saying that the sensor's not likely the cause of the problem. Okay. I'm just trying to think intuitively what would make sense, causing the slow autofocus. If it's something physical, because the autofocus lens is on the sensor itself. So if the sensor is dirty, it might affect the autofocus. But that's a total conjecture on my part. Nothing like that, huh, Archie? Mosquitoes are great for macro. You know, I just saw some mosquito macro photography, I think on Instagram. Who is doing that? It's pretty amazing though. Whoever that was. I subscribed to you. I just can't remember who it was, but I saw some awesome mosquito macro photography. Most likely will be the camera movement when in full image stabilization or similar. Wow. Okay, it's coming up on 12, so I'm going to wrap it up here by 12 o'clock. So if anyone has any other questions for me, I'll do my best. And I should, I guess I should be a little more specific when something is kind of conjecture versus actual knowledge of something, like about the autofocus, and just so it's pure conjecture. I thought the sensor might be dirty. Because obviously if the sensor's dirty, it's going to mess with autofocus, but that may not be the most likely scenario. Maybe more likely it's something else. Go to Utah vacation. I have friends there in Green River. Amazing parks and landscapes. Yeah. I definitely got to go travel the country. I want to take like the Route 66 and do a photo trip with that. And yeah, I really want to travel the country more and do some more photo trips. I have a buddy in Portland. I have no thoughts on that. Never been there. Utah is neat. Nice place to visit. Zion and Bryce. Yeah. Yeah, I gotta go everywhere. I really need to travel more. I know Ellie would love it. She's a ride dog. She really loves going in the car. I'm gonna take her with me to the Savage Mills today. Well, Rick, I think, as far as a sensor getting dirty, I know the sensor on my EM10 Mark II is very dirty. It's got dust specks all over it. And it doesn't change no matter how many times I turn the thing on and off. So I think what happens is that the sensor just gets a very thin film on it that the dust actually starts to stick to it more like a glue, and it won't come off. So that's what I was thinking. Maybe there's a very thin film because plastics, because there's still plastic in the camera. Plastics particulate at a given rate. Like anybody, if you have a car, if you go in and you wipe your windows on the inside of the car, they're going to have a very thin film on it that's can only be removed by cleaning it, and some of that is due to the particulation of the plastics from heat and things like that. So that's kind of the direction I was going. I didn't want to go into all that detail, but that's what I was thinking. Maybe just the sensor's dirty. And not sure, somebody's asking Elaine to watch my menu videos. I'm not sure what your question was, Elaine, or if I answered it. The casino. Hans, I don't know if you have a camera store, but sometimes Olympus they'll have events at a local camera store where they'll do a clean for free, So the next one they have, I'm going to go to that and get my sensors cleaned. But I used to do it myself on my Nikon. You can buy these little swabs and stuff that are the same size as the sensor, and they have to be like surgical clean. I used to do that time to time. Oh, you're a vapor, so that would leave a film. Yeah, definitely. That's got what? Polyglycerin or something in it. But yeah, vaping, that would leave a film. Oh, thanks, Mortar. Yeah, the menus are confusing. But all right, everyone, it's 12 o'clock. I'm going to head out. I'm going to do a photo walk today, and with any luck, I'll post that video tonight or at least by tomorrow. I'm going to go up to Savage Mill, and so look for that. And then next week, Sunday, I'm going to have Peter and Robin on for the EM1 Mark III. We're going to talk about that camera and answer your questions. And in between that, I'm going to have my normal Thursday live stream. So Hopefully we'll see you guys again on Thursday. Thanks for coming in.